Hey there, Formula One fans. We're excited to announce the inaugural SRA Formula One Fantasy League. This is going to be 100% free, 100% fun, no prizes, all bragging rights. Uh, you're going to construct a team of 5 drivers, 1 constructor under a $100 million cost cap. You sign everybody for a length of 1 to 5 races. And over the season, everybody's values change. When they leave your team, you get that value. So sometimes your overall team value goes down, sometimes you go up, and at the end of the season, somebody gets to point and laugh at somebody else. So head on over to the Real Racing channel, grab that Grid Rival app link. It's great for the cell phone. I believe it works on PC as well. But get in there, get your team selected. I think it's 24 hours before race start, you have to have the roster locked in. So if you haven't got in there already, get yourself in for the next race and enjoy Bahrain. Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of the SRA Grid Report. Bailey, how we doing tonight?
Feeling a lot better tonight compared to last week and excited for another episode.
Well, I can hear it in your voice. You're definitely breathing a lot clearer, and from playing all that Civ 6, I bet your mind's thinking pretty clear too.
No, it's not actually. It's the complete opposite after the amount of time I spent in that game.
I thought you'd be laser focused on development.
My brain is toasted now
Well,
from all the development.
too much blue light.
Yes,
There it is.
too much.
Well, uh, gonna go over. There's been a few things that have happened in SRA, even though everything happens so damn fast. We just had the resorts, a few people moving divisions. We had Brands Hatch this week, which was eventful.
Interesting to say the least. Yes.
And yeah, I mean, gonna go over all facets of that race. Multi-class mayhem still kicking strong, going into round 3 this week. And who can forget F1 this weekend? I mean,
Not me.
no, my alarms are ready for the morning, and who knows? Maybe I won't even go to bed. I'll be so excited. But
That'd be bold.
I don't know, man. That Aston hype has me up and ready to rock.
Yeah, I'm already. I'm in my Red Bull sweatshirt and my Red Bull jersey, so we're already kicking.
Sleeping in those things like John Tavares and his
Heck
Leafs
yeah.
jammies.
Just about.
I want to be Max Verstappen.
I want to be Max Verstappen.
Well, as everybody tries to chase the ever elusive top of the grid that is the Max Verstappen of SRA, We got some people who made their move on up to Division One with the resorting after round two. We saw Gomer Wilson, Kelvin Lau, and Runya over from Division Two get the wave of approval and have moved on up to D1. I think they're all in the silver class, but definitely going to be competing towards the midfield of that grid.
Yeah, for sure. And watching back the D1 race, well, I was actually watching it live. Gomer Wilson was actually in somewhere in the top 15, I think.
Wow.
Top 20 minimum, yeah. So he's the pace he showed is true and still remains. So I think Kelvin and Ronya both did not finish the race, but good to
Brands
see them
Hatch will do
up
that
there.
to you, sadly.
Yeah, yeah, unfortunately.
Josh Schlitz and Alex Davidoff both jumping two divisions from Division 4 up to Division 2. And I haven't seen much of Alex myself, but Josh has made himself very comfortable with the front of the grid so far.
Yeah, 1 for 1.
Yeah, he came out in the practice race and scared a lot of us, I'll say that. And then came out and almost won the race at Brands Hatch. So I think he's definitely more fitting in Division 2. I'm sure some people in Division 4 are wiping their brow, but definitely not when they look at the rest of this list when we get to the people who moved into Division 4. The only person to move to Division 3 is Colin Dunham, moving up from D4 to D3. I don't know too much about the driver. Did you recognize them kicking ass and taking names in the streams?
Yeah, him and Davidoff were both battling for the P2 position there in both races that I watched. And as you said, Josh Schlitz moving up to D2 is the clear favorite of the Division 4 at the time. But yeah, Dunham and Davidoff, I think more than anything, deserved to be moved up. So Colin Dunham was kind of a under the radar kind of guy.
Definitely, I did not see that coming, but the move is definitely not unwarranted if it went through. That's the nice thing about the equalization, I guess you could call it. You don't really get that good of a hot stint time in, but you get to show your worth against the field, and it's like, yeah, I don't belong in this division.
Hmm.
Now, Division 4 took on one, two, three, six drivers, if I'm seeing that correctly. Cube,
Uh, yeah,
I see Cube Master Justin Rutledge and Ethan Marvin jumping from Division 5 up to Division 4, as well as Julio Bayadoon III, Patrick Brady, and Justin Rose jumping from Division 6 to Division 4. So, as much as they saw Colin, Alex, and Josh leave, they've got quite a lot of new challengers.
yeah, especially with Cube Master from D5 there,
Yeah,
getting moved up to D4. Cube Master was finding some pace.
and he's definitely a driver that continuously finds pace across the season.
Yeah,
So he's going to make himself competitive in Division 4 very quickly if he hasn't already.
I would bet money on that he has.
I uh, I don't want to say anything because I have not paid too much attention to the standings. I very quickly pasted into this Google document, but I think it's pretty safe to say he's up towards the top of that grid. We didn't see anybody move into Division 5, and pats on the pats on the back to everybody. No demotions.
Yes, that's what we love to see.
So good job. Keep up the hard work, and your spot in Division 1 will open in due course. But why don't we move forwards into what we've had so far, though? Brands Hatch was a pretty interesting race all around the divisions. I mean, the track demands quite a varying amount from you. You kind of got to be really smooth with the steering, but also somewhat aggressive to get it down to the apexes because it's somewhat flat, even though you've got the undulation. There's not much camber in the corners, minus two corners. And then turn one just being off camber, downhill, a nightmare.
Hmm.
But a lot of drivers making the most of taking different lines in order to try and find overtaking room.
Yeah, there was not a lot, and several people found that out the hard way. Um, and even being in one of the races, it's like you felt like you went around a corner and there was just dirt in your face because the amount of track is so small, the margin for error is so small that there was several people who just did just too much on corner exit and would dip their tires and would either fatally end the race or they would lose a little bit of time. And around this track, not being a long lap time, a little bit of time is a lot of time.
Exactly. Very well put. And the difference between a small mistake and a huge mistake is so small.
Yep.
It's it's wild. We saw a lot of people going full on ATV in the area you can see in the background picture here, and we saw some people who just went for deja vu. I've been in this place before drifts, but all in all, I think compared to how a lot of people viewed this track and the racing of it, I mean, even if we didn't end up with the best of races, like everybody in the grid, I mean, I'm sure a lot of us learned from this how to race side by side in tight areas with people.
Hmm.
So, all in all, a good learning experience. But enough with the philosophy. Let's move forward to the standings. Division 6 qualifying. Doug Sonner takes the pole position with a 25.030. Curtis Adam takes second place, and Jack Patch in third. Curtis and Doug were only split by 5 thousandths of a second,
That is
which is
unreal.
wild, and in two very different cars of the Porsche and the Aston.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
that's unreal.
meanwhile, Jack took a very comfortable third place at 7 tenths back, but I think those guys were actually looking at it would be close to competitive in a D5 qualifying. They'd be up in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, D6 is the learning group down there, and you just look at the driver moves already we've had. I'm sure there's going to be more people throughout the season that don't belong in D6. I mean, by now I'm sure there's plenty of people who don't belong in D6, but it's just kind of the way it is.
Exactly. Everybody's got to have some spot on the grid, so fortunately, there's probably some drivers who could have also been justified to move up, but I
Hmm.
mean, there's only so many spots. The
Yeah.
race, on the other hand, sees Curtis come from second place to take the win, swapping places with Doug, who takes second place, and Jack Patch holding on to that third. Once again, a little bit of a comfortable position, 30 seconds back of Doug, but he was only 4 seconds back from Curtis. So it seems like that race was relatively close for the most part. I don't believe D6's replay is up at this time. I know I have not seen it, but especially on a track like this, when you're not seeing people go LMAO, I'm so happy this is done, and whatnot, you see people going, that was good, good battles, and
Hmm.
for once their race review was actually pretty short.
Yeah, I was
So,
actually just about to say that they were in and out of there real quick.
mm-hmm. So it must have been a relatively clean race considering how the other divisions went. D5, the Bread Boys. Dawson Trembling taking pole position with a 124.1. Gordon Beverly taking second, and Michael Magenheimer taking third. Now, Michael actually did have was one of the drivers who was subject to a penalty due to points collection. So we had our eyes on him throughout the race, but I believe he finished inside the top 20.
It's not bad.
So, I mean, having a 30-second penalty on a or minute 30 lap
Yeah,
track, it's pretty good. You could
that's a
lose a lot of time.
third longer than it needs to be.
Exactly.
So
The race sees Dawson take a absolutely astounding win that isn't really represented in the finishing times. I mean,
I would
it's
I was
21
gonna say
seconds,
that's a
but
long time.
I would say go watch that race and it would be understanding as to why Dawson put his head down and just drove and everything happened behind him and the race fell into his lap. Speaking of falling into people's lap though, Tony Swan putting in a drive of the Ferrari to stay close to the front of the pack while also managing his tires enough to keep a solid mid 25 pace Just,
Hmm.
I think it was in the second half of the race. It was just nothing but self-inflicted pain from drivers as they started coming out of the pits, as they started to get into clear air from drivers and go, okay, now I got my chance to push, and I need to make up this lap time, or like take the chance to get a good in lap. And Tony, as well as Joe Shabadoo coming home in third, were just opportunists. Nothing but opportunists. And I think that's kind of what you need on a track like this. Like, there's no. I was saying it to myself the whole race. There's no real safe place to go for a move. Even the
No,
hairpin
it's
that's a heavy, like,
yeah,
straight line braking zone is still very sketch.
especially because the racing line you kind of dart over in the braking zone and try and
Mm-hmm.
hit that early apex. So it's still not even that easy of an overtake spot because being on the outside, you're kind of shafted.
No doubt. And with how shallow to the apex that the marbles start, you're you're toast.
Yep.
If you're not slowed down, you're going straight off the track.
Yeah. But even uh, I had this situation in my race as well. You get alongside going through the hairpin, and you're still there's still a good chance of you going side by side through the next couple of corners. And with them being so tricky, especially turn three, um, it's hard to take two cars through there and stick it. So completing the move is crucial, but battling is. They said in the driver's briefing, battling will just lose you time, and people were not afraid to battle. So
Yeah, no doubt. There was, I know throughout the D2 race and even the D5 race, there was just a lot of what you're seeing in the background here. Just people trying to find every open piece of racetrack that they can when they're close to somebody competitive, especially in the early parts when the field was bunched up. People just trying to take every chance to go for room, but
yep,
there's like you said in the driver's briefing, they gave everybody a fair warning. Like, this track does not really give you the opportunity to do that, but people found a way,
yep. As
and
always,
when there's a will, there's a way. So cap off to D5 and D6. Up we go. Division
now.
number.
Oh,
Oh, sorry,
sorry, I was going to cut you off.
cut me off.
Because I don't know if we mentioned this in the last podcast, but we did feature a 55-minute pit window this week.
That is a very good point. We did not mention that, and we didn't mention it off the start either. 55 minutes. I know that was crucial for a lot of people.
It was massive. I can tell you that I definitely took advantage of that as myself. I don't know about you.
I kind of did, not fully. I think I pitted with like 10 minutes left.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, especially for early damage in a track like Brands Hatch, I mean,
Yeah,
I think the admins were doing us a favor with that one.
I think so too. It's definitely well, a lot different compared to what we've done in the past. Especially because we in D2 specifically had some pretty big accidents on the first lap.
Hmm.
and and for how slow we were going, that by the time we got around the first lap, pit window was open.
Yeah, there was
So
I know even coming around in 8th, there was like I was not too far past the pit entry and it opened. I'm like, wow, okay.
yeah, yeah,
So,
I dove in on the first lap, so and just had free. I actually had a lot of free air until like 25 minutes in or something like that. So I was able to hot lap. I made up a lot of positions pitting early.
and you know what? Before we move up to Division 4, that was a pretty big talking point amongst comic racing was whether or not to try and optimize the long pit stop and get out of traffic as early as possible.
Yeah.
Like, do you find it made a difference in how your race panned out? I mean,
Um.
negating the end of it.
Yeah. Negating the end of it, I do think so. Just because of the way qualifying went for me, it wasn't the best qualifying. I was about 30 positions off of where I should have been. So I mean, I had much more pace than I was like surrounded by. So being able to get in the pits early, being able to get out in the open air and in full pace, full push, while everybody who's still out there is still playing nose to tail for the first 10 minutes until people start dying, people start pitting, then people start opening gaps. So I definitely think for those who were out of position for qualifying, it definitely benefited. But for those, or even furthering that point, for those who actually got in a lap one incident, for the pit window being open so early, you were able to fix the damage and get your race back on track. You weren't losing a lot of time. You weren't losing um, crucial points, or I mean, your race was still on. You just had to go in for an extra what, 3 to 6 seconds, perhaps. So I mean,
Exactly.
I think it benefited a lot more people than it killed. So
One
um,
person I know that took big benefit from it was John Crown. He was up at the front of the D2 grid,
hmm
and early, I want to say it was the first handful of laps. I guess something had happened. He fell back towards 8, 9, 10, around where I was, and by the end of the pit window, like he was pitting from second place. So he had made up a lot of track time, and
hmm
being able to pit that late, he was able to end up netting a lot more positions than he would have being forced to pit early.
Well, now here's the part that is curious about that situation specifically. Before my last lap fiasco, he was actually behind me. I was up in like 16th, 17th, and he came out behind me.
Yeah, and to think that he would have been 10th, say, having to pit within the next 5 to 6 laps, he probably
Yeah,
wouldn't have netted too many positions. But being able to stay there out there as long as possible allowed him to get in as many hot laps as he could.
yeah. I don't know. Something must have happened because I feel like he fell way back compared to where he was.
I mean, pitting from around 8th, I mean, he was up at the front of the pack, but
Yeah,
I don't know. I unfortunately did not catch that in the race review, but there was quite a few accordion effects across all divisions.
yeah. That's just kind of the nature of the track, though. Is the issue?
You mean the nature of turn 2?
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or yeah, turn two or turn four, the uphill left there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, a lot happened there as well.
That those two quarters just taken names.
Actually, that might be turn five.
That's turn 3 in my book, or no, turn 4 in my books.
I agree, but I think it's turn five. But we'll say turn four.
Oh well, the
Uphill
parts,
left.
the uphill left. Yep,
We'll call it
Div-
that.
I like it. Division 4. David Funk takes the pole position with a 23.7. We see a second and 3/10 jump in the pole position time here. Caleb Craig takes second, and Patrick Brady takes third place. Um, actually, hold on a
I
minute.
was gonna say,
Is
did
that a
you just skip over that?
yeah? Uh, David Funk put it on pole with a Jaguar.
Yep,
What?
he sure did.
Holy cow, man!
It gets better. It gets better.
I see that he holds on to third place.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the fastest lap of the race. Patrick Brady takes the win from third place. Caleb holds on to second, and David takes third. What am I missing?
I don't know, but that ain't right. Something ain't right here.
Something ain't right. Talk about a drive. Like, I think that right now is getting my vote for drive of the season.
Could be a drive of the year, and we're only in March.
Exactly. Like, putting it on pole at Brands Hatch in a Jaguar in GT3.
Yeah.
Like, my brother in Christ. You have been
Yeah.
doing quite a lot of practice, haven't you? Considering I struggled to consistently hit sub 24s, and I mean, I've been racing Brands Hatch as one of my predominant tracks for like 3 years now.
hmm
That's
Yeah.
quick.
I don't know. That's interesting to
It's a,
say the least.
it's a, I'm gonna call it impressive, and if the stewards have nothing to say about it, then I guess I can't have anything to say about it.
Yeah.
The tin foil hat section is at the end of this episode.
Yeah. I who know I don't know what to even say to that.
I mean, I'm not gonna
I'm
accuse
mind blown.
nobody of cheating, but holy cow, it just doesn't make sense to my peanut brain.
I'd compare it to the D1 boys up there in Brooker Queeg and Pat Rust in the Nissan.
Yeah, that's just some very talented drivers putting
Yeah,
a unskilled car to work.
exactly. I think when you got it, you got it.
Division 3, the red division.
Did you go over the D4 race results?
Did I?
I don't think you did.
Hey, you know what?
I,
We're just gonna
are
rewind. Yeah, I did.
you sure?
Yeah, I did. Because I said that David got P3 and Caleb held P2 and Patrick Brady held P1, and I asked you what I missed.
Oh, okay, yeah. I
It's
guess I guess so.
it's
I missed
late,
that.
ladies and gentlemen. It's 11 o'clock at night.
It's not even that. It's the Jaguar that threw me off.
Yeah, the Jag.
The Jag. It's a Jag.
I'm gonna insert that because it's old enough that we can't get in trouble for it.
Yeah, and he's been canceled several times, so we're good.
Hashtag JC Farm. Division 3. Sam Reck continues to put on a wrecking ball performance in Division 3, taking pole position with a 23-3. The return of Colin Shea takes P2, and Zach Dupuis takes P3. Many people were asking as to why Colin Shea was put in Division 3, because
Yes.
he's Division 2 pace, and I think the race showed that as Colin took the win in his first race back since I believe it was breaking his wrist in a motorcycle accident.
Just some tough stuff.
Yeah, just
This
like
guy's
king
he's a tough
shit.
dude.
No big
Yeah,
deal. Get,
he's a villain. He's a
yeah,
threat.
guys like yeah, no brace, no wrist tape, no wrist tied, nothing. I'm just out here playing on a
Yeah.
Moza R9. Like okay,
Yeah.
Sam Reck taking a solid P2, and Zach Dupuis unfortunately falling off of the podium, and Andy Speed taking his spot in P3. The
Josh, I'm gonna rewind you here for another second. We're gonna
yeah,
go back to D4 here.
zap me
Um,
back.
how's that?
Mhm.
Um, Patrick Brady.
Okay.
You remember this name, Patrick Brady?
Yes.
Uh, first race after getting moved up from D6 wins it.
Wait. Whoa. Wait. Huh?
Yeah, Patrick Brady was in D6 and he came and won the D4 race the next day.
Wow. I didn't catch that.
I
Wow.
just realized I'm like this name sounds awfully familiar, and we already talked about him today.
Damn.
Yeah,
Well
so
done.
something's happening at D4.
Something is happening. They are putting something in the water that is
I
turning
was
the
gonna
racers
say,
fast.
yeah, there's something going on down there.
No doubt. Give me some of that.
Interesting. But yeah, back to Colin Shea, the jump man.
Jumpman, Jumpman, Jumpman. Colin should definitely be in Division 2.
He was in D2. I don't know why I would have been disrespected, and I think Colin took that to heart and said, "Why am I in D3?" And I'd say kind of showed them that, yeah, I'm in the wrong spot. I raced against Colin Shea so many times. The dude's quick.
Yeah, the guy's quick. I mean, like, even when he was like testing out his wrist essentially, as he was starting to heal and racing with us once in a while, I'm like, dude, you're still lapping close to me. Like, you're
Hmm.
coming to Division 2.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, maybe the admins tried to give him a little bit of a benefit. Like, he may still be fast, but can his wrist hold up to long racing with people and stuff like that? But I don't know. Seems like he's fine.
Well, let me tell you this. His time would have put him P3 in D2.
Well, there you go.
So he's still got it.
He definitely does, but he broke his wrist, not his ankles, so gas pedal go brr. Division 2, the playground. Jason Allen takes pole at the very last second with a 23-3, which is just barely faster than Division Three's pole time of 23-3-9. There's a
Hmm.
23-3-7. John Archie would fit also between those two with a 23-3-8, and Landon Drebes with a 23-4-1-2 in third. The
Look at
rate,
my boys up there, P2 and P3.
yeah, whatever. You notice how
Shout
there's
out
only
my
one on the
boys.
finishing podium?
Shout out my boys.
That's okay. Shout out Ghost Rider Racing. They're a good bunch of guys. The
We love it.
race, John Archie made a nice overtake on Jason Allen pretty early on and was able to hold on to the win. Josh Schlitz, one of the drivers who moved up from Division 4, kicking ass and taking names with P2 in the race, and Alex Chilcutt taking P3. Now, I'm going to take this opportunity to take my cap off and my tinfoil hat off. One for Alex and one for Landon. Because the race I had between those two fighting for third place could make up for an entire season in this league. For Brands Hatch, those two put up a hell of a fight. You talk about people wanting to try and go too wide where you shouldn't. What are you feeding those kids at Ghost Rider Racing?
Just the best. Honestly, it's all handmade. It's all pure. There's no chemicals. There's no nothing. It's all pure.
But
We're
notice how we
we're
didn't say non-GMO.
exactly. GMOs for I don't know. GMO is interesting. Yeah. So we're breeding is what's happening.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of competitive drivers at Ghost Rider,
Yeah. Yeah. John Archie putting the
which he's he's pretty damn quick. Knows how to
John
make that
Archie is
Ferrari
very quick.
bogey.
Yeah, he does. Even Dreebs did. Dreebs was D4 last season.
Yeah, he's another driver who's made a big jump, and I don't think a lot of drivers give him the respect that he deserves on the racetrack. You know what I mean? Like how
Yeah.
somebody in baseball would not play deep in the outfield because they don't respect your hitting power.
hmm
It's like, well, you're gonna get bit, and he bit a lot of people this week and took a lot of positions.
Yeah. I mean, even back to Barcelona, he was going into the race. He was one of the quickest people on the hot lap leaderboards. Actually, he was the quickest in D2.
Yeah,
Um, and came to the race. He was still up there in the top five or something like that, and had an unfortunate event. But I mean, he showed over several races that he is D2 worthy, if not potentially. I don't want to. I don't want to. I'm gonna knock on wood here. Potentially D1.
I
I don't
no disrespect
potentially.
to Landon, but I think D1 might be a stretch now. I think
Yeah, I
D2 is
agree.
his definitely his competitive field,
Yeah.
but I also don't think that a D2 win or a D2 championship are too far from his future.
No, I agree.
So, once again, D2 proving that it is Sweatzilla and everybody's
Yep.
trying way too hard,
Yep.
but very well done. So why
It's
don't
like
we move
hanging out in
on?
a sauna.
Yeah, it's just a little bit less awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Two dudes
don't gotta be
chilling in a
as
hot
careful
tub.
with your eye contact. Maybe making contact with a tube sock.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you
Jesus.
can thank my coworker for that image. You put it in my brain before I left work.
Yeah, now everybody else has that.
Congratulations. Enjoy your night. But
Ugh.
let's move up to the real sweats. Division 1. Ryan Yee on pole, 22-7. Nicholas Alvarado second, 22-8. Matt Lehman in third, 22-8 too. And that was, 23s for a while felt impossible. 22s comfortably is just, I can't process that.
No, it's absurd, to say the least.
These guys are considered aliens for a reason. But, like, what do I need to do to gain, what is that, 1.5 seconds between Matt Lehman's time and my quality time?
1.5?
Yeah, at a 23-7. Oh,
Where'd you
sorry. No,
qualify?
oh my God. I saw 22-2. My brain didn't work. Again, it's late. So that's
Yeah, it's
one
okay. It's okay.
second. But still 1 second.
Yeah, it's a
And I was
lot.
11th qualifying.
It's just getting the maximum out of the car, is what it is.
Tracks like Brands really prove who the best are.
Yeah.
Being able to find what seems like non-existent time and you pull a second difference.
Hey,
But
that's Matt Lehman for you.
no doubt. And Matt Lehman proved to put some respect on his name, coming back to his winning ways, taking Brands Hatch victory. James Riley comes out of nowhere to take second place, and Nick Alvarado holds on to third. Ryan Yee fell to fourth, but Ryan Yee's the only person on the finishing results, so he got 110 points. Everybody else got zero, and I guess we just move on to next week.
Fortunately, I watched that race back or live, shall we say?
Ooh, tell us
Very
about it.
very entertaining. I was like, I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. Um, Pit window played a huge factor once again. So it's not just lower divisions; it's the top division too. Um, Nick Alvarado actually led the race for almost the entire time. Ryan Yee went for the undercut. Nick Alvarado went to cut him off, succeeded, but in doing so, Nick Alvarado was going kind of slow, which allowed James Riley to sneak in there and come out ahead of them with an
Mm.
overcut, then slowed them down, which allowed Matt Lehman to come out the pits well ahead and
Wow.
hold the lead. Yeah. So it was just a train of overcuts.
And that's just kind of brands for you. I mean, that's kind of how I felt with my pit stops too. Like, you get stuck. You can't, like, not stuck, but you can't. If the guy in front of you is close to your pace, but you can't make an overtake, you're both just gonna fall back through the field, and it's gonna give, like Matt, for example, the ability to come out and just hold the lead.
Yeah. And uh, I forgot when they said, but it was before he even pit that they said, oh, yeah, Matt Lehman will come out in the lead when he pits.
That's, I mean, to know that early, we were able
Yeah.
to call that in D5 as well, just because of people having accidents. Unfortunately, it just opened the gap,
Yeah.
but it's to have a 30-second gap before you've pit is insane.
Yeah. And James Riley was, my goodness, was defending like he was playing with his life.
Widest Ferrari you've ever seen, and those hips already
Yes.
look fat.
Yeah, it's that chrome Ferrari and you can't miss it.
Disney Pixar hips.
Featuring Shakira.
Why Shakira?
Because those hips don't lie.
Oh man.
You catching what I'm putting down?
Oh, I'm picking it up all right. Apologize. But now that we've made it through Brands Hatch, we can start to look forward to next week, which brings a lot of fun in two facets. We head to Imola for a wet race for the GT3 series on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then we head to the same track for a 5 hour endurance in varying conditions on Saturday. So, essentially, last call to get your registrations in if you haven't. There's nothing wrong with soloing an endurance if you don't have anybody that you want to run with. Uh, it's great practice. I'll say that. It's great for working on your mental fortitude,
Yes. And your consistency.
no doubt. It's when you have no teammate to rely on to help pick up your banker times. It's kind of pushes you to work hard for the whole race.
Yeah. And nobody else to blame if something goes wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, that too. So when I inevitably crash into Aqua Minerale, Bailey is gonna tell you all about it
Yes,
the
sir.
following
I'll be
race.
here. I shall be here.
I'm just
Taking
gonna
notes.
I'm gonna be sitting in the corner crying.
Don't worry, you'll be lapping a little quicker than I am anyway. So
Ah man, it's gonna be a fun race no matter what happens. I mean, varying conditions on Imola. How do you build a setup around that?
you don't.
I mean, tire pressures will be hard enough to dial in.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So,
But
have we put up a official practice server with the conditions yet, or like posted the conditions?
I have not seen one, nor have I looked.
I
So
I haven't seen any announcements or anything yet for it, so I
I
don't think
haven't
so.
either.
But I can imagine one is probably going to go up on server 4 this week.
Hmm.
I can actually I wonder it'll go
I
up
bet you
on
it's going
one
to
of the
be after.
servers, but it may
It'll
go
probably
up
be
on the
up on
main
Prime.
servers after the GT3 series.
I was thinking after the multi-class mayhem race tomorrow night.
But they may leave server 4 for the following multi-class race practice.
Did they do that before?
I'm not sure.
We are checking. We are checking.
We are checking, and just like Ferrari, we don't have an answer.
Question.
Question? Let us know in the comments down below if we were right or wrong. And when we see your comment, Jess, we will know. So let's take a sidestep and go look at those multi-class standings. Are you able to access those?
Probably. I just got to
Alrighty.
press this link right here. Teehee, teehee, teehee.
Teehee, click it a link. So a reminder again, we've split the multi-class into two splits. We've got the Daytona split and the Barber split. It's just kind of, we had enough people to fill more than a server, so we kind of halved the grid based on your rough divisional placements. I mean, there's some people that don't have divisional placements because they only take part in these races, so we just kind of put you based on like your rough pace.
Mm.
But it's made for some pretty good racing. Taking a look at the Daytona split overall, the GT3 series, Uthman Badmus, a resident driver who loves to take part in our exhibition series, is holding on to first place. Mr. Sir holding on to second, and Brandon Chan in third, tied with Victor Diaz. And GT4 sees none other than Michael Menning holding on to first, Riley Palmer, who I believe is another driver who takes part in our exhibition races, in second, and Patrick Rust holding on to third. Lots of drivers taking the opportunity to drive different cars in this series, but there's also your regular crew of Porsches.
Yeah, yeah. Forced to be the popular from what I see.
It looks like one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 of the 13 GT3 cars are Porsches in the Daytona split. So, definitely favored. And I mean, in terms of the GT4s, it's not as dominant, but I would think it'd be more dominant. The Porsche's kind of, I think it drives better in the GT4 compared to the other cars.
I've never drove it, so I cannot attest to that.
Fair. To each their own. But that racing has been, I've heard it's been a boatload of fun. Uh, can't make it out, but is what it is. So, love to hear about it in the Discord, and hopefully one day we can get some broadcasts on that. The Barber split, Sam Reck holding the fort because GT3 Series isn't enough in first place. Martin Spitzer in second by half a point because we did the 30-minute split races, which I believe have decimal point points allocated in some positions. And Lee Harbour holding on to third. GT4 class has the lovely Kevin Anderson holding on to first place, Curtis Lee in second, and Zach Whitesell in third. It's nice to see where some of the non-regular, I guess you could say, drivers stack up against the constant field of SRA.
Yeah, especially with the cars of the GT4 being those much more difficult to drive cars, slower cars. Um, so it's definitely interesting to see the different ability that these drivers have.
For sure. And a little bit of poking fun at like friends and stuff like that. It's like, oh, you're driving a different car, and now I'm faster than you. And then you come back to the GT3 series on Tuesday, Wednesday, and now you're pushing even harder to try and beat them.
Yep,
So,
yep, that's good competition.
no doubt, great fun all around. Round three is coming up this Friday. That is March the. I'm blanking.
Third.
March the 3rd. And we are headed to the wonderful track. Where the heck did my graphic go?
Oh, he lost it.
There it is. We are headed to Zandvoort, doing the
Ooh.
two sprints again back to back. Race 2 is at sunset this time instead of at night, so a little bit more sight lines, but I think Zandvoort's harder at sunset than it is at night. That sector 2, trying to come through, and the sun sets right between the trees there. You come around the right hander
Yeah,
and it's directly in your face.
for that corner, and then the following corner, and then the following corner.
Mm-hmm. It's just
Yeah,
fun. So
yeah.
much fun. But yeah, that's gonna be a great race. Hopefully I can at least be in the Discord, maybe catch somebody's streams. So
Yeah, I will unfortunately be unavailable for this race, so I will have to miss this one again.
Yeah, I could see your air quotation unfortunate from here because you're going away for the weekend, I believe. Gonna go
I
partay in.
am, yes, indeed.
There it is. So
Gonna shred the slopes.
exactly, guys, gotta have some fun.
Exactly. Can't all be racing
Gotta have a
in
little bit.
Civ.
Gotta have a little bit of a break in between, and yeah, you got your Civ, but
Yeah.
hitting the
One
slopes
of
is a
the
good change too.
For sure, for sure. But yeah, wish the luck to everybody participating as Endor because Lord knows you need it around that track.
No doubt, it demands a lot out of you, especially in that old layout being so flat.
Yes.
That last corner is appetizing for overtakes, but murders you if you take it wrong.
Oops. Yeah, Zandvoort is one of my least favorite tracks to do in any game. So
I don't mind it in Formula One, especially the banked layout.
I've just had bad experiences. That could be why.
That deep breath tells me you've had a few.
Yeah, it might be a couple.
I'm sorry for your loss.
It might be a couple.
Before we move on to some real Formula One, just taking a look back at last weekend to give a shout out to Team SRA. I mean, I guess it's kind of tooting my own horn because I was on the team, but I didn't really do too much. Fazli Majid, Dom Duran, Jack Polyak, Adam Santana, myself, uh, absolutely putting in work for 24 hours. Dom was able to pull us into 16th for qualifying. Uh, it wasn't where we wanted to be, but I mean we weren't trying to chase the win. Managed to get up early to fifth, sixth position due to some mistakes, and held on to that for the entire 24 hours. Took no drive-throughs, no pit lane infractions. We didn't have to take any extra pit stops. We managed to stay exactly to the spreadsheet, which was insane. None of
That's
us
pretty
expected that to
impressive.
happen. Yeah, we I think like I know in my second stint I got like 6 or 7 seconds in damage, so that was able to help extend pit stop times a little bit to help make things
Hmm.
line up, but still to not have to accommodate it all. Like I think it was 65-minute driver stint times, and we had 63 minutes when we put Dom in the car for the last stint,
Wow.
or when we put our last driver in. I don't remember who it was. My brain's farting, but I don't think it was Dom. So it was very. It was Brandon Chan. That's the driver who I have left out of this. Brandon Chan.
Oh,
And of course, it's the driver that busted his ass the most. Fazli said he asked him not even a week or two before this race to participate. And Brandon came out and was almost lapping faster than Dom, who was supposed to be our fast guy.
you're a Ferrari guy.
Exactly. And yeah, not to mention that was all in the Ferrari, which
Yeah.
90% of the grid was in Ferraris, but
Yeah. 24 hours of Ferrari.
exactly. The Spec Series, Ferrari Challenge, no
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, very very well done by the SRA team, and I also want to shout out to Jared Seckham. Throughout this whole thing, the idea of this race was supposed to be for a fundraiser for, oh my gosh, Muscular Dystrophy UK. They were running a joint partnership to try and raise some money for people around the United Kingdom and around the world who suffer from that. And Jared went out of his way to make a 100 Great British Pound donation of the just over $500 that they raised total throughout the
Wow.
race. So that's a big shout out from or to him as like, if like
Yeah.
I personally, I don't have the ability to give out some money, but if I could, I would absolutely love to. So, thank you, Jared, for doing what we
Yeah.
all wish that we could.
That's mega. That's really big.
I think they were saying like 1 in 30 men or something like that in the UK were diagnosed with muscular dystrophy or something like that. The
Yeah.
stat is probably wrong, and I feel horrible for just bringing up a wrong stat, but I remember looking at it and I was like, I have never really heard about this, and that is a very high percentage of people.
Yeah, I do know somebody with it too. It's not fun. It's hard to watch.
I can imagine any form of
Yeah,
illness is not fun to observe.
yeah, it is. But um, to do an event like this really helps to bring this and try and hopefully resolve the issue of muscular dystrophy and get those people back on their feet doing what they loved doing, whether that was just their regular mundane tasks or it was their career, anything like that. So it's a really big deal. So shout out to who was it that put this on?
That was Big Brain Racing.
Big Brain Racing. Yeah, I was jumped in the stream a little bit, but yeah, I was same for Josh. If I could donate, I would have, but
COVID has hit
ru-
us all pretty hard financially,
yeah,
unfortunately.
rough times in the financial side. So
Yeah, and it's nice that the sim racing community can get together and do these sorts of things. I mean,
yep,
they didn't hit the goal that they wanted to, but they got some money together. I'm sure there was probably other people from the league who contributed, and I don't want to leave anybody out if they did. So, I mean, if you had the opportunity to open your wallet, we, MDUK, and Big Brain, we all thank you because it's for the greater good.
yeah, for sure.
And to end things off, let's turn our frowns upside down because it's T minus 5 hours till practice.
Oh boy, practice one.
Formula One is finally back as we head to the
Yes.
Bahrain Grand Prix. And I think some positive note to start the whole weekend off is hearing that Lance Stroll is going to race.
Yes. That was just announced
I
this
think this morning.
morning. Yeah.
Yeah, he's recovered, I'm assuming, fully if he's going to be driving a Formula One car from his dual wrist brake rumored accident.
Rumored, yeah. He
Yeah,
had a band-aid on the inside of his right wrist, so I think he's good.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully he's okay. I mean, the last thing you want is to have something like that get aggravated in the middle of a race, because I can only imagine what it'd be like to try and stop one of those cars with one hand.
Or turn,
Yeah,
let alone,
let
yeah,
alone stop. I mean, that's feet, brain.
yeah. It's
But,
gonna be interesting to see though, because he's had very minimal practice with him missing all of testing.
hmm the one thing I'm ready to see is, and I think it's going to be the real determining factor as to how competitive the Aston is how much of a difference in pace there's going to be between Fernando and Lance,
Yeah.
because he's really had the chance to work into that car.
And Fernando will find as much of that of a car as possible.
hmm
Whether that was 10 years ago or that's gonna be tomorrow.
Oh yeah, there's the like uh, being an Aston fanboy, I'm absolutely in love with this, but like I can't ignore what the actual guys on the grid are saying. And George was quoted as saying, like, talking about his like the ranking of the grid and how he sees things. His direct quote: "It's going to be a fun fight for second with us, Ferrari, and Aston." I'm
That's a
like,
common quote.
I'm
I've seen
like,
that a lot.
what? So like,
Yeah.
but the media was all over Fernando in questioning today. I think in his session alone, he had 9 questions directly for him,
Yeah.
and like, the car better not be a bust. That
Yeah.
that
It was
that team will hurt.
I saw a clip as well of that same interview and it was I forgot who he was with. It was him, Nick DeVries, somebody else.
Hulkenberg was in there. I know that.
Yes, Nico. Yeah, Nico. And all the questions were directed at those two and Nick just kind of sat there.
Yeah, I mean, Nick's had a lot of opportunity to get interviewed last year. Everybody knows, he's just been super eager to get a seat. He's
Yep.
extremely deserving of the seat, and everyone's ready to see this kid race full time.
Yeah. I
It
think that's motivating in a way though.
No
Sit
doubt.
there and not get asked any questions, be like, all right, fine, I'll just go do what I need to do.
I'll give you something to ask about.
Yeah,
Hopefully, it's
for
not an
sure.
accident.
No, let's hope not.
As much as we miss Latifi, we don't need another one.
The goat.
Go Latifi. Um, the new intro title is here, and I like it, but I totally agree with F1 Twitter in saying that and wondering why they made George and Charles look like they're in some like boy
Some little
band
frat
music
boys.
video. Like
Yeah. Oh,
Charles
yes.
is all leaning on the wall, like staring at the trophy. I want it that way.
Yeah. Pure Gasly as well. He's got his backup, looking like he's part of NSYNC.
And then George out here trying to recreate the trash compactor scene from Star Wars. Like,
Yeah, he's
get
holding
the
up the
walls
walls.
away.
Yeah.
But
And then you got Lewis looking like he's starring in a movie from the 1980s.
hmm I saw one person online. They redid it, but they just compiled a bunch of the different intros, and it's all just Seb's intro put together for 2 minutes. I'm like, yes, this is what we need.
Oh, Lord. That's funny.
But
Yeah, I saw that this morning and I was intrigued. They made sure they got the full Valtteri Bottas in the
yeah,
mullet.
they got both angles.
Yes, they made sure they got all of it.
Another loss in Daniel Ricciardo, but the grid still has its Australian.
Yes. Also, while we're here, um, I don't know if you've watched any of it, but Drive to Survive season 5
I have not. I've actually never watched any of Drive to Survive.
came out last week. I finished it the day it came out.
Was
All
it
10 episodes.
was it good, or are you just that eager to watch?
Um, they missed a lot this season. Um, I don't know if I should spoil it yet
Here,
because it's only a week out.
try to leave out details, but give us a Karun Chandok 60-second breakdown.
Okay, so it was basically making up for all the info they didn't get with Max of the 2021 season because he avoided Netflix. So it was a lot of Max Verstappen, a lot of Daniel Ricciardo parting ways, figuring out what he's going to do in his career. Zero Sebastian Vettel, zero Brazil race. They didn't cover Mercedes at all. All they did was talk about their downfall. Um, yeah, and then the whole Oscar Piastri fiasco with him um, being with Alpine and then them suing him and him going to McLaren. And yeah, Zach Brown suit or is and the big another point was the big um salary or the spending cap with Red Bull as well. That was about it, 4 episodes.
Mm.
So yeah, that was about it. So um I usually just watch it for the behind the scenes stuff like in the paddock instead of on track because a lot of it is just kind of flashing back to the races in which I watched every single one. So
Fair enough. Yeah, I've seen a lot of clips and stuff, but I kind of agree with the perception that it's overshot. Like it's a little
yes,
bit yeah, overshot, but
exaggerated as well.
yeah, I like keeping up with the paddock side through Twitter and whatnot, like actually
Hmm.
following the individuals, and they
Yeah,
post a lot of videos and whatnot. It's, I don't know, I'll probably end up watching it at one point, but
yeah,
because yeah, you said 5 seasons and it's 10 episodes a season.
yep,
There you go. So
yeah. The issue that people had with it is that it created a lot of false narratives, but I think this season they moved away from that. I mean, I'm sure there's still a couple things that are incorrect, but not nearly as bad. Um, but it's more of just they're more identifying and highlighting the major issues that happened last season, aka the whole Oscar Piastri and F1 spending cap, um, and
yeah.
then the whole Mercedes downfall. So
Well, I was gonna ask a question to lead into the next point on F1 I got here, but I guess it kind of answers my question, and that's like, did they talk about the new F1 Academy at all?
no, they did not.
And that's interesting because you would think that Netflix would want to capitalize on something like that, being as at the forefront of society as they try to be with their programming.
Yes. I think it wasn't big enough to talk about because they like I said they missed out on so much stuff. Um, I mean they didn't do anything for Sebastian Vettel. They didn't even talk to him.
Yeah, that
Um,
that hurts. Like
yeah,
being a lifelong Seb fan, that hurts. Like when you said that, I almost took my headset off.
yeah. The most they highlighted Sebastian Vettel. They had Checo in for like doing an interview, and they gave him a phone, and it was he goes, "Oh, Seb has an Instagram," and that was when they showed him like the video of
Oh,
uh
him saying he's retiring.
yeah, that was
Oh,
and like they got a bunch of people's reaction to that and stuff, but they never even talked to him.
wow. I
Yeah,
I wonder if he had a silent max like I don't really want to be a part of it.
potentially. I don't know. I just know that was a big talking point that I saw on Twitter and Reddit. That a lot of people felt that was unjustified and undeservingly um, unacknowledged of the impact that Seb has left on F1 and how they just kind of brushed over it.
Yeah, the fact that they did zero in his final season shows that they definitely brushed over it.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary on Netflix of Michael Schumacher. It's called Schumacher.
I have not. That's the one that recently came out, right?
Yeah, like a year ago, maybe?
Yeah, a year or two ago. I've been wanting
Yeah,
to watch it, but I have not yet.
very good. Very good. Now, I think they should do something like that for Seb.
It's all about if he wants it, man.
Exactly.
Like the Schumacher
But,
family wanted that. They made
yeah,
that with the family.
it was really well done, too. But I think they could do something equally as good for Seb as well. But like I said, I think they just kind of they didn't have enough space or enough time or enough episodes to cover everything. So I think they could have done at least 5 more episodes of stuff they missed.
Yeah, that's one thing I was thinking about as we've been talking about this is I feel like a lot of that limitation is trying to fit 23 races and content into 10 episodes.
Yeah, and then I mean they try and touch on every race and stuff, but they kind of do like a 4, 5, 6 race span with one team in their drama, and then they'd go into the next team and do the same thing and just progressively get through the tracks. So,
I I guess what I look at is I know, for example, one of the podcasts I listen to, there's two guys on there. One of them watches F1 a lot,
mhm.
and one of them doesn't watch F1 at all, but enjoys it, and only learns about the season through Drive to Survive. He chooses to watch that as his like way of sitting down and encapsulating the whole season in one sitting, kind of thing. And it's
Hmm.
like if they're going to have that binge watchy audience that Netflix kind of pulls in, like they should do a better job of telling the story.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's not a full episode worth for every single race, but
Hmm.
they should touch on every single race. Like
And I
at
think
least
they
who
need more
won,
episodes.
who got a pole, like did I saw something on Twitter that may be wrong, but did they not brush over the fact that Carlos got his first win in Silverstone?
No, they actually did. They spent about a whole episode on that race.
Oh, okay, so then it was probably just some salty like Lewis Hamilton fan or something.
It was more. They definitely didn't brush over the fact that Carlos won. It was more directed towards the miss strategy from Charles.
Hmm. Fair.
Yeah. So that was a lot of it too. Was the Ferrari strategy and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But I will tell you the best part was the opening to season 5 was Matteo Binotto and Gunther Steiner spending some time together in a Fiat in Italy
I have
in
seen pictures
in
of that
Matteo
so many
Binotto's.
times.
It's so funny, dude. It's so good. It's so good.
So many people asking for a spin-off series of that,
Mhm.
and I would gladly watch that.
I would gladly direct it. Matteo and Gunther, time in the vineyard.
Matthias Grapes.
Matthias Graves.
There we
Oh,
go.
that's funny. Yeah, that was definitely very entertaining to watch. It definitely put a smile on my face.
It's got one on mine just thinking about those pictures of them going
Yes.
around. Look at how fast it goes.
Yes. And they're like weaving around these Italian curvy roads and he's like Gunter's like, "Oh, you got to slow down, Mattia. Look at
Why?
the crash.
Why? I'm driving faster than the Haas?
You don't fuck smash my door."
You don't fuck smash my Fiat.
Oh, it's so funny. Yeah. But I mean, if you watch anything, I would recommend the Schumacher documentary, then Drive to Survive, but Drive to Survive is a sit down if you haven't watched any of it yet.
Fair enough. I'll definitely add it to the list. Uh, the only like F1 related show or movie that I've ever watched is oh my god, I don't even remember what it's called, but it's with Hemsworth. It's about the Lauda era.
Oh, James Hunt and Nicky Lauda?
Yeah.
That's shoot. I literally just watched this 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I watched it recently as well. I hate myself for not remembering the
Oh
name of
my
it, but
gosh.
it was pretty well done, and it kind of gives me like hopes for abilities to tell stories. But I mean, even that, like you're jumping from race to race to race, and if you don't know
Yeah.
like what actually happened in the championship, you're kind of lost.
Rush. It's called Rush.
There it is,
Yeah, Rush.
just
Great
like the
movie.
story.
Yep.
I'm kidding, but yeah, I think closing note for Formula One. I want to say that whole F1 Academy thing I think is pretty awesome. Like Formula One trying to take a true stab at developing a female feeder series in, well, the F1 Academy.
Hmm.
Um, Formula W is a great way for some of the entry level, well, some other people to make a way, but essentially they're just creating more entry doors for people to find a way in.
Hmm.
And having a series like that, I mean, like, unfortunately, there's always going to be, just due to the way the nature of the world is, there's going to be a 10 to 1 or a 5 to 1 male to female in most cases in terms of entry to racing. So the fact that they're creating okay, we're going to make sure that the females have an opportunity to show their skill, it's awesome. Because I personally cannot wait to see a female come up and kick ass.
Yeah.
It's it's wheeled. Weird to think that it takes this much and this long to get it, but I'm happy to see it. And personally, no better person to put at the front of it than Susie Wolf.
The Susie Wolf.
Yeah, she proved her worth. There's a lot of people who continuously pull up her test stint on board from when she drove the Williams, I think it was, and she put up
Uh,
competitive lap times
I think it was,
with
yeah.
no practice.
Yeah.
It's like, what, man?
Yeah.
A definite example of what unfortunate previous standards have done for people, but has allowed for positive future steps. So,
Yeah,
Susie, congratulations, and can't wait to see what the F1 Academy can produce this year.
for sure. And my last note before we close out tonight, Susie Wolf was talked to more than Sebastian Vettel in Drive to Survive. So take that as you will.
But yeah, I think that's a great place to stop. Take that as you will. So, from myself, from Bailey, and from everybody who's looking forward to staying up all night for F1, it's been a slice, and we'll see you next week.
Love you. Bye.